This information will please the haters, will please those who hate Russian-speaking trucking companies and the entire trucking business, people who have never lifted a finger in their lives and now sitting on their couches are rejoicing, saying, well, we knew it, we told you so, ha, serves you right.
What's going on, good and wonderful people? It's Taja here, back with another banger today. So Miranda from the Trucking Mate successful YouTube channel came out with a video last week about how Eastern European, Chicago-based trucking companies are soon gonna go out of business. And I commented on this video and I was like, wow, this is music to my ears. Now, I decided to look more deeply into it because she was referencing this YouTube channel by the name of Mr. Gela. So Mr. Gela's YouTube channel has videos that are all in Russian. So I had to, buy this auto-dubbing service to figure out exactly what his video was about. The original video was 31 minutes long. I'm not going to react to the whole thing because he pretty much talks about the same thing the entire video, in my opinion. But what I am going to react to is some parts of it because he says some very interesting things. But before I get into it, I do want to talk about the fact that he owns Direct Motor Lines. That's the name of his trucking company. When you look it up, you see that it's based out of Clarendon Hills, Illinois. But then you click on the safe report, you see that the company is based out of Elk Grove City, Illinois. Now, he does give a phone number in the description box of his videos to contact him if you're interested in a trucking job. Well, you type in that phone number, the company that comes up is Bigman Inc. And then in his video, he also has this little headline that says that he's the CEO of Bigman Inc. So yeah, he owns Direct Motor Lines and Bigman Inc. Not sure how that works, but hey, it is what it is. He's a very successful CEO. He also owns a car sales business. So yeah, very rich, very powerful. So therefore, I wonder why he's just so concerned about his business, his empire crashing and burning. Well, let's take a look for ourselves.
The end of the era of Russian-speaking trucking companies. The current president of America has done and continues to do everything possible to bring us all to the edge of a precipice. Let's figure out together today how in 2025, at the end of May, business owners, drivers, workers, employees all of you ended up in such an uncertain and precarious situation. What contributed to this? This information will please the haters, will please those who hate Russian-speaking trucking companies and the entire trucking business, people who have never lifted a finger in their lives and now sitting on their couches are rejoicing, saying, well, we knew it, we told you so, ha, serves you right. So
wow, okay. Like, he pretty much caught out everybody, man. Okay, I see that he's a feisty CEO, Mr. Gela. Shout out to you. Well, the thing about it, with these Russian-speaking Eastern European trucking companies, the reason why people are rejoicing and cheering for your downfall is because maybe you just don't treat people right, but that's the reputation. I'm not saying that's your company in particular. I would hope it's not your company. I would hope you treat your employees, right. But unfortunately, you hear people's stories in this wonderful social media world about their experiences with these Chicagoland trucking companies. Oftentimes they're negative. They're very cutthroat. They penalize you for everything, every little mistake that you make. And when you hear people that constantly criticize these companies over and over and over again, it builds this negative perception around them. So when you hear the news about these companies crashing and burning, of course people are going to be happy for your downfall. I'm sorry, it is what it is. And to be quite honest, I really want to give, these companies the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure that there's probably some trucking company out there somewhere in Chicago that's a Russian-speaking trucking company or any of the Slavic-speaking trucking companies that does treat their employees right. But I have yet to hear about it. And when I ask people to name them, they never do.
what is happening right now? For some reason, everyone is silent about this situation, as if it doesn't exist.
Oh, there you go, guys. It says right here, Mr. Gela, owner, Bigman Inc. Also the owner of Direct Motor Lines. Okay.
Trying to keep a calm expression and not paying attention to the global and revolutionary changes happening in the trucking business, or to where all of this might lead us, not just where it might lead us, but where it has already brought us. There is a colossal shortage of long-haul truck drivers. But don't confuse this with a shortage of truck drivers in America. In America, there are more than enough truck drivers, and according to statistics, there is actually an oversupply of more than 10%. No, the shortage is among drivers in Russian-speaking post-Soviet Eastern European trucking companies.
Okay, but my thing is, okay, so first things first, I'm glad that he acknowledges that there isn't a shortage of American truck drivers. There's actually a surplus of American truck drivers. Yet he's claiming that even though his company runs in America, in the United States, he's claiming that there's a shortage of Eastern European, Russian speaking truck drivers, even though they're already a minority to begin with. And the reason why there is a lot of them here is mostly due to the very, very lax and liberal immigration policies implemented by the Biden administration. And also the memorandum, the 2016 memorandum that was implemented by the Obama administration. So basically, he's upset that because of these laws, because of these mandates, these executive orders, these truck drivers that he employs, because he's already looking at a minority of truck drivers, he's upset that he's going to lose that, minority of truck drivers that he's employing despite running in America, where he can clearly and most definitely hire American truck drivers that are desperate enough to go to Chicago, because I'm sure there are American truck drivers that are desperate enough to go to Chicago, so why not hire them? Despite the reputation out there, there are some SAP drivers that need a job, and they're willing to do just about anything to get back into this industry. So why not just be a second chance trucking company?
These companies make up less than 10% of the entire freight transportation market. And the shortage of drivers in these companies doesn't significantly affect the trucking business as a whole, but it does have a major impact on the employees of these specific companies. And most of all, of course, it affects the owners of the trucking companies. Past 4 or 5 years, all our Eastern European and Central Asian trucking companies have been developing very actively, expanding rapidly, and growing not just by a few percent per year, but by multiples. For example, our company has grown exactly 11 times over the past 4.5 years. Can you imagine? That's a 1,100% increase. And it's not just our company. There are quite a few companies that have grown several times over. What made this possible? It was thanks to the influx of drivers. After all, as we know, without drivers, a truck doesn't move. The open Mexican border made it possible to enter the country and immediately apply for political asylum, and after 180 days get a work permit, obtain a CDL, and get behind the wheel of a truck. The Euphorio Program, which started after the war began, after fascist Russia invaded Ukraine, allowed Ukrainians to come.
Okay, so once again, your business is in America. You've actually been, in the trucking industry for a while now. I actually looked into his channel. He's been making YouTube videos since 2016, 2017. Again, around the same time that memorandum went into place under the Obama administration that pretty much lacks the English language proficiency requirements. So Mr. Gela, he started off in trucking, getting his CDL from a trucking school out of Florida, Haynes, Florida. I didn't have time to auto-dub that video for y'all, but basically he went to this school out of Haynes, Florida, and he was able to get his CDL through them. But when I try to look up Russian-speaking CDL instructors, or CDL schools rather, in the state of Florida, what comes up is this interesting case in which these Russian instructors were arrested for fraudulently giving out CDLs. Now, I'm not saying that that was his particular trucking school, but it is interesting. But then again, the presence of foreign trucking schools is actually pretty common now. And what I noticed is that these foreign trucking schools are very, very cheap compared to American trucking schools. And like I said, I can't auto-dub the video. I don't have time. It takes a very long time to auto-dub these videos. But what I will do is leave the original transcript of the video as a document in the description box down below, and you can fact check this for yourselves. But basically, he says that the cost of the CDL school is actually $1,600 $1,600. In fact, I'll just put the transcript right there for you guys to see. He says that the cost of the school was $1,600. That is a steal. The lowest you can get is probably like, if you're paying out of pocket $2,000 at one of these community colleges, or even the Schneider Caterpillar CAT program that's in select locations, is either you do 9 months or pay $2,000. That's pretty much the cheapest I've seen for a trucking school in America for Americans that speak English. And of course, he also says that if you don't speak Russian, they'll charge you more. So there's that. You know what? I did see this video, and I'm actually going to do another reaction later this week, hopefully, about how this foreign trucking school in Canada actually gives CDLs out to migrants from, I guess, South Asia, India area, Pakistan area, that area. They get their CDLs for a discount rate compared to other Canadians. But like I said, that's a reaction for a different video.
To America en masse, receive a work permit and social security number right at the airport, and immediately go and get a CDL. Of course, such an influx of drivers enabled companies to purchase trucks and expand. But starting from August 2024, which is already about 10 months ago, Ukrainians stopped being admitted under the Euphorio Program, and eventually this program was completely shut down. So for 10 months, Ukrainians have not been entering the American labor market. Starting in December, the Mexican border was restricted, and by February it was completely closed.
But that's the issue. I don't get why you thought that this program was sustainable and it was going to be a permanent program. You had to have known that this was temporary, and the growth that you mentioned earlier in the video, the 1,100% growth, you had to know that wasn't sustainable. So why are you relying on these temporary asylum seeking programs to sustain your business? This is a very, very bad business strategy. But then again, you are a rich, successful CEO, and I'm sure you're very, very well educated, and I'm pretty sure you can figure it out, Mr. Gela. I'm just saying. Alright guys, so I actually had ChatGPT translate everything he said in the video, and I didn't get a chance to auto-dub the entire video. I probably should have auto-dubbed the entire video and watched it completely. It was a long video, I'm sorry y'all, but what he said here is pretty alarming. So he's talking about job losses and whatnot from his company. He says this throughout the video, but when I asked the question earlier about why he won't hire American truck drivers, well, this is why. This is what he said in the video. Every month, 7 to 10% will leave, always. Some will quit, some will burn out, some will switch companies, some will lose legal status, and there won't be enough newcomers to replace them. For our company, a 5% loss equals 15 drivers a month that we can't replace. That means in 6 months, our 420 truck company would shrink to 220 trucks, maybe more, maybe less. But the trend is clear. All companies will shrink. You could try to bring in American drivers, but Americans want W-2 employment, not 1099, because it's illegal to classify your employees as 1099. So, therefore, these people just make me sick. Oh, my goodness. See, he says American drivers, they want W-2 employment, benefits, pension, structured work conditions, because it's illegal to misclassify your employees. Like, these people, like, literally operate under a different set of rules. Unbelievable. And he says also that our current system can often provide that. So, yeah, here's the rest of it. It says, we can switch to W-2, but we'll need to build an entire separate system, okay? And it's not even about the system. The real question is, will we be able to offer competitive working conditions compared to large American companies? That's doubtful. American companies have their own advantages. They have more resources, more stability, and for them, a driver with 5 to 10 years of experience is a treasure. For us, such a driver is often seen as too expensive. In conclusion, what do we have? A shrinking inflow of new drivers, a steady outflow due to expiring documents, career changes, and burnout. A federal law coming to effect on June 25th requiring all drivers to pass an English language proficiency check, and if they fail, they'll be removed from the truck. We've already lost 4 drivers because they're scared of that law and went to study English. That's 1.2% of the workforce, and the law hasn't even taken effect yet. All right, guys. So after reading that to you guys, tell me, what do you guys think? It seems like Mr. Gela is stuck between a rock and a hard place. But back to the rest of the video.
And other nationalities, Georgians, Belarusians, Russians, Kazakhs, Uzbeks also stopped crossing the Mexican border to seek political asylum and consequently are no longer expected to join the ranks of truck drivers in trucking companies.
Okay, so the thing about this seeking asylum, I can't prove this, of course, and this is all alleged, but why do I feel like this is a scam? Okay, so here's the thing about this whole seeking asylum from basically all over the world at the U.S.-Mexican border. All these people, and I mean all these people, are they really asylum seekers, or is there a chance that they're probably committing asylum fraud? Again, I'm just going to say this. I don't know this for sure. This is all alleged. This is a conspiracy theory channel, but all these people are really asylum seekers, but yet they're actually in the trucking industry, you know, a blue collar job. Sounds more like they're economic migrants to me. I'm just saying. Now, I get that there is, you know, a war going on between Russia and Ukraine, and that's a legitimate argument, but I'm talking about everybody from all over the world is coming from their respective countries to the U.S.-Mexican border. Somehow, some way, they're all asylum seekers. I think the odds of that are very, very small. And at the end of the day, they're economic migrants, in my opinion, of course, allegedly.
As of today, all CDL schools that were tailored for our drivers are completely empty. There are no students. If there are no students today, that means tomorrow
So yeah, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier in the video about how he was at a Russian-speaking trucking school in Florida that was targeted at, you know, Russian-speaking students. I don't know how this is even a thing here. I don't get it, because you do have to be able to take your test in English. So how are they getting away with these Russian-speaking trucking schools, but at the end of the day, they have to know English in order to pass the test? Like, something just seems so off. But I actually recorded like 4 different clips, like, because his original video was like 30 minutes long, and before I start editing this video is already 16 minutes long. So I'm just gonna have to play this clip for you guys. But he says something very alarming and very common with these Eastern European trucking companies when they come on hard times. Take a look.
Because in our company, yes, there are some fluctuations. Payments might go up or down. There might be delays in salaries by a day or 2, maybe 3 days for drivers. So this can vary. But our reserves, which amount to more than $5 million, allow us to stay in this business and continue paying everyone, no matter what happens. Yes, maybe we might delay someone's salary by 3 days, but we will pay it. In the next 6 months, there will be companies that simply will never pay it at all.
What?
So yes, guys, you saw that and you heard that. That's absolutely ridiculous. You can't just withhold drivers' paychecks after they do work for you, and it's multiple days before they get a paycheck, and by the time they get it, usually it's wrong, because like I said, the way y'all treat y'all employees is just really, really, really terrible. And that's why people are literally rooting for your downfall, because you pull crap like this. But anyways, I feel like if this continues, if, you know, these Eastern European trucking companies, they can't pay their employees, and enough instances of this happens, we're going to see the rise of vigilantism. That's just, you know, my prediction. It's a very grim, but I did cover a story about this, how this Macedonian Chicagoland CEO couldn't pay his employees, and this person, Joseph Sekula, decided to, you know, unalive him because of that.
53-year-old Joseph Suklia now facing first-degree murder charges after the death of his boss, described as a loving father, son, and brother.
So yeah, before I end this video, I do want to talk about this other truck driver that did a review on his company, Mr. company, Direct Motor Lines. I'm just going to play the clip for you guys. So he says something that's pretty alarming. Again, his original video is in Russian, so I had to use the same auto-dubbing service to translate it. But he says that he ran for 900 miles in 14 hours.
That parking isn't the most important thing in this job. The most important thing, I think, is driving safely. Driving in winter, in snow, on ice, in the wind, because wind also plays its part. And a good dispatcher, the right kind of dispatcher, is one who understands how you drive. It's no secret that we drive more than American drivers, sometimes faster, and we cover more miles. My record was, well, around 900 something miles in 14 hours. You can actually drive even more. You might say, yes, oh, that's all, you're not following the LD, you can't do that, logbook and so on. But I'll tell you this, there are different times in America, so many times the market is booming and you can make money. And sometimes you can't earn good money. Everyone wants to make money, and for that, all means are good as long as it's within the bounds of safety, of course.
So there you go, guys. He said that he works for Direct Motor Lines and he works for Mr. Gela. So he admits that, you know, he ran 900 miles and he acknowledges that what he's doing is not necessarily illegal. So, hey, Mr. Gela, I don't know why your employee put that review out there on the internet for us to see, especially in this wonderful time, this AI boom, in which you can pretty much translate any video into any language. So, yeah, and also, regardless of how you feel about the ELD mandate and hours of service, that is the law. And apparently these Chicagoland trucking companies play by their own rules despite being on American soil and having to really abide by American laws. But I'll end the video here. If you guys enjoy content like this, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I'm Tasia Woods, and I'll see you next time.